current year, it seems everyone is scrambling to be the most oppressed. It's like when you see someone you used to go to school with and you say, "How are you?" And they reply, "Oh, my back's hurting, I cracked my phone screen, and I'm worried my son is dating a ginger." I don't care, Sharon. Just say you're fine and we can both carry on with our lives. It seems like a constant contest for who's having the worst time, and this video is no exception, as The Root explains to us how black gays have it worse than, well, the rest of the gays, even though literally no one asked.
I would be okay with the idea of coming out if it meant that everyone was expected to come out.
Well, everyone does, in a way. A boy bringing a girl home is showing his parents he likes the puss. You don't have to sit everyone down and make a big deal of it. Just be yourself, and as soon as your bedroom door clicks shut, your parents will be like, "Ooh."
But that's not how it works in practice. I've never seen a heterosexual person have to tell their coming out story.
And I've never seen a homosexual person have to tell their coming out story. I have met a few who just launch into it and you try to stop them. But that's what happens when you substitute sexuality for personality.
My name is David Johns.
Hi, David. You know, I've never liked people with 2 first names, but this guy has 3. That's John, plural.
I'm the executive director of the National Black Justice Coalition, and this is a word about inviting in.
Inviting in. Well, if this is a video about vampires, then I implore you, do not invite them in.
Blood!
No.
Blood! I want to suck your blood!
No, Drunkula, no one consented to you being here. There are rules, man.
Blood! You pussy!
What? Oi!
Inviting in is a way to complicate what is normally thought about as coming out.
You admit you actually want to complicate it then? Things have been too simple for you all this time then, Mr. Johns. No, all this business of humanizing people has gone too far. Yes, we live in the most accepting time in all of history, and yes, that is a problem.
For many, coming out is the process by which people sit down their families, have an awkward conversation about them being LGBTQIA+.
LGBT? Yeah, fair enough. I've got some problems with the Q for queer because that's a bit of an all-encompassing term. Like mum, dad, I'm somewhat out of the ordinary. But I, for intersex, meaning you have variations of sex characteristics such as chromosomes, gonads, sex hormones, or genitals. Considering that's a condition you're born with, I think your parents already fucking knew that, Mr. Johns. You sit down with them for an awkward conversation and they're like, "Yeah, we know you're a hermaphrodite, Steve. We used to change your diapers, you dumbass."
And then they're celebrated for it. Often for white people who come out, this also then involves them moving to a neighborhood.
Yes, now we're getting into the racial issues surrounding homosexuality, which is honestly something I never thought I'd say. And the word gayborhood is honestly something I never thought I'd hear.
A place like Chelsea, New York, or Hollywood, California, or Boys Town, Chicago.
Boys Town? Boys Town? Which came first, the name or the gays? And how pissed are the lesbians? Where's the girls' town, they cry? And of course, the answer is Beaver Creek in Colorado. Check out their fish market.
Where they then get to join communities and sports teams and show up in gay community centers where they draw power from that part of their identity.
Draw power? They aren't superheroes. Gay Avengers, assemble! Limp wrist, sassy bitch, interior designer, sex pest, queen. Time to slap crime in the face.
For those of us who are Black and LGBTQIA+, the idea of coming out is sometimes simply not an option.
Why? Are you about to subtly imply the black community are homophobic? Because if I did that, I'd get in trouble with the UK government. And what are the chances you'll still find a way to blame it on white people? I mean, this is the root, after all.
Most Black LGBTQIA+ people live
Right, now take 2 shots of Jägermeister and say that again.
with other Black people. We are disproportionately concentrated in the South.
Well, good news, Mr. Johns. Physical mobility being a thing, you can always move. It would mean less complaining though, so I don't know, do what's best for you.
We live in the states where it is legal to discriminate against us based on actual or perceived sexual identity, gender orientation, or gender expression.
Now, this is an interesting one. Besides my previous point of you can just move somewhere else, your sexuality, and by extension, your gender orientation are strikingly personal things. So how about simply not constantly displaying them for all to see? I mean, I wouldn't fire someone because they were trans, but I would definitely give them a stern talking to if all they did was chat about being trans. That's just annoying, and at the end of the day, you are here at Drunken Enterprises to work, not regale your co-workers with tales from the Stonewall Inn.
We use the term inviting in to highlight the importance of people doing the work to show up as both allies and accomplices.
Accomplice? Whoa, that is one angry looking guy right there. Anyway, accomplices? That makes it sound like you're planning some kind of heist, which, to be fair, would explain this guy's mugshot.
Adopting the language that we need to be able to talk about people in asset-based, stigma-free, positive ways.
Yes, buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. Can't help but notice how changing words has absolutely no effect on the way the world is ran though, Mr. Johns. Language policing isn't what I would call a proactive approach, you know?
To otherwise engage in conversations about things that are important to people.
In other words, unless you use these specific words, we can't be friends. Well, that's fine. I don't want to be mates with someone who requires people to follow a stringent set of rules before gracing us with their presence. Jeez, talk about ego.
And so for us, the idea of inviting in people means that once you do the work required to demonstrate that you are competent and compassionate.
No, you mean once I've proven I will bow to your every demand.
I can share with you, or we can share with you, parts of who we are, including who we love, or other things that you might need to know about our identities.
Right. 1, why would I need to know you're gay? I'm not Match.com. 2, why would I need to know who you love? The only time I see that cropping up is if I'm sending you a Christmas card. And sorry, bud, I'm not sending you a Christmas card. And 3, you call it inviting in, but by the sound of it, you're actually shutting people out unless they kowtow to your verbal desires. Now that's up to you, Mr. Johns. Just don't be screaming out homophobia when your social circle diminishes to the size of an armadillo sphincter.
An example of inviting in is my brother Lil Nas X.
What is he wearing? That is where stereotypes come from. You tell him he isn't doing the LGBT world any favors, Mr. Johns.
Many people felt that it was important to talk about Lil Nas X having come out.
Well, I disagree. I'm led to believe he's a musician, but that's only because of the background from the previous photo. I mean, I can't even make out his name when you say it, so no chance of Googling him. So, as a musician, what bearing does his sexuality have on his music? Why do we need to know where he likes to put his peen?
As if there was this singular moment in time in which he had this unique realization about his sexual identity.
Yeah, and a load of people went, we don't like none of that gay music, play some Skynyrd.
And then decided to stand atop a mountain and decry it to the world for everyone to know.
To be fair, I haven't got a clue who this guy is, yet somehow I know his sexual orientation. Does that seem right to you?
And what I appreciate most is that Lil Nas X says, actually, that's not true. He made clear for anybody that had questions.
I have questions about his taste in clothing. Is he intending on looking like a tropical frog, or is that just a coincidence?
Who he is and how he shows up in the world as a black man who happens to be same-gender loving.
Same-gender loving. You mean gay, Mr. Johns? I don't know what you're hoping to achieve by saying same-gender loving, but so far you've managed to earn my contempt.
Words matter, right? Inviting in as a construct is important because it highlights the importance of a bilateral relationship.
A bilateral just say relationship, you idiot. And you can use all the big words you want, but it won't change the fact that you are saying very little beyond I want you to change the way you speak because I'm just so important.
And the need for two people to be engaged in this process of having conversations and making space for each other.
Except it's more along the lines of, you make space for me because of my sexuality, which shouldn't matter, but also should apparently really, really matter.
I don't owe you an explanation of who I love. However, comma.
Comma! He actually said comma. I don't know what to do with that. Is he okay?
If you do the work required to learn some language, to leverage our friend Google.
You keep describing it as work, because that's exactly what it is. So do you honestly think you're worth that effort? Do you really think you're that special because you're gay? I mean, you're acting as though you're oppressed by being entitled. It's weird. Impressive, but weird.
And to again think about diverse experiences, then we might be able to engage in this conversation where I will invite you in.
So you're basically the human version of terms and conditions. Got it.
And the hope is that if I invite you in, you will invite me in as well, and we can have conversations about things that are important to you, but might otherwise be difficult for you to think about discussing.
Nah, none of that sounds appealing. I just want to play some Call of Duty.
I have two hopes, dreams, goals with shifting from coming out to inviting in.
Is one of them the hope that people will avoid you because that's what's gonna happen?
And one is that we get to a point in time.
Granted, there we go. We are now at a point in time. You're welcome.
In which it's not necessary for anyone to have to explain or announce or defend their sexual identity, gender orientation, or expression.
How is that gonna happen when you have a fucking disclaimer when it comes to talking to you? You can't work towards sexuality being a non-issue while simultaneously making it the biggest issue in the world, for fuck's sake!
And more than anything, I hold this dream for our babies.
Our babies? I'm sorry, Mr. Johns, but you have to agree to use certain language in order to reproduce with me.
Right now, high school kids are identifying more often as anything other than strictly heterosexual. And to be clear, there is no gay agenda.
Well, no, you can't make someone gay, except Lena Dunham. That girl can easily turn a man.
If there is and you've seen it, send it to me. But it is, I think, their way of saying to us that the boxes, the narrowly constructed categories that have existed for far too long.
You mean categories like pansexual, which basically means bisexual, but with a pinch of gender identity? I agree, that has gone on for far too long.
Boy, girl, black, white, things that don't allow for these intersections to exist don't work for them.
It's not meant to work for them, Mr. Johns. It's just something you are. Like alive or dead. There's no middle ground there. Well, maybe brain dead. Been seeing a lot of that recently.
And so my hope is that we listen to the fact that our babies are screaming for us to do differently.
Our unborn babies are screaming at us. Now there's a nightmare in the making. And those guys are gonna fall off of that wall. This isn't Assassin's Creed, you morons. Where's your safety gear?
To celebrate humanity, to otherwise find ways to strengthen cohesion so that we can be better communities and a better country.
Oh yeah, great. So how's that gonna happen when you've effectively segregated yourself to an area where only a chosen few may enter by showing they've worked on changing their language to something you deem acceptable? Sounds like a total hassle. Count me out.
I believe that inviting in will hopefully be a tool to help us get there.
Emphasis on the tool. And why is there a crosshair on the screen? Maybe we're playing Call of Duty after all. So, there we go, guys. Someone finally knocked the gays off of the pedestal of oppression. Black gays are the new leaders of the whingy world. Because what better way to bring about a society of acceptance than by shutting people out because they refuse to change their language, while you sit there and refuse to change how you feel about that language. It's that old Game of Thrones quote, isn't it? If you want a queen, earn her. I just didn't realise they meant that kind of queen. Thanks for watching, guys. Please consider becoming a patron because my vocabulary doesn't change for free. And check me out on BitChute where anyone can say what they want. I'm also on Pornhub too, though you might have to sift through a lot of off-key videos to find this particular drunken uncle. I didn't really think that one through. The links are in the description, and remember, I'm more oppressed.
No, I'm more oppressed. Oi.
So stunning.
So brave.